Printing for Gamers. I'm one of your hosts, Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param, and I'm joined by
Kristen Sowards, also known as Seventh Mastery.
Kristen. 3D print work this week. You did anything cool?
You know, I'm kind of in that paralysis moment because my big Dungeons & Dragons game thing, Pathfinder First Edition mix-up game, it was three nights. All that stuff just ended last night after almost 3 years. It was 20th level. It was massive multi-world craziness. And of course, I've been slowly thinking about the next game, and I've kind of been narrowing it down to a couple different options. So I'm like, I don't want to like jump into my next print project and then be like, nah, we're not going to do that. You know what I mean? So I did do a little bit of terrain work, but not much else. And I've been looking at bases, which I'll probably circle back to during shoutouts. But
I failed my will save.
You failed your will save and bought a 12th printer?
No.
No.
I don't know. Did I mention this last week? I ordered the because it came today.
Your Neptune 4. Yes,
Pro.
You did mention that.
Yes,
hey, James.
Yes. So Neptune 4 Pro showed up today. It's sitting in this little box. I'm sitting here twiddling my thumbs. Also, like a big old package of the sample pack of Elegoo filament showed up too.
Nice.
Because Black Friday is a hell of a drug. And that's been fun. That has been very fun.
I keep telling myself, wait a little longer for the resin because it's going to get even cheaper. And I'm like, no, I need to get some now.
I don't know how much it gets cheaper.
Yeah.
It doesn't. And by the way, speaking of things being cheaper, that's kind of one of the topics we're going to be talking about today, which is why buying these files is just way too complicated. We'll explain it. We'll explain what I mean, because but oh boy, when we get to that. But first, as far as my 3D printing, printer showed up. Printing some minis for some friends. Evidently, like Digimon has caught on in the local card game community. And so one of my friends is having me print like a little, I don't know, Digimon. So like
I don't either.
One of the variants of the Goraimon, and to use as a life counter token, which I was like, well, that's a novel idea. So shores.
Yeah, I've seen some cool life counter dials that you can print for MTG. So
yeah. And I'm wanting to get some more filament printing done because I'm just having so much more fun figuring that stuff out right now. Not that I don't enjoy my resin printing. It's just that has been a solved problem for me for a while now. And
that's why I keep doing it.
Is a new problem.
No, it's an icky problem. I don't like it.
It's not an icky problem. It's weird that you think it's the icky problem. Like,
give me my goo.
Give me my poisonous milkshake. It is much better of a problem to deal with the poison shake than it
works.
To deal with the
it works for me. And I'm never walk into spaghetti and people telling me to change my hot head out the day I buy it.
This is true. Like I'm glad that filament printing has just gotten so much more simple. Like the last couple of years, it's gotten like, especially the last year, where there's several printers out. Where like the Bamboo Labs ones and the Anchor one and the new Cobras and the new Neptunes, where it's just like put the tall in the flat end and hit start, and then you're good. I like dumb easy stuff. It's nice that things have gotten dumb and easy.
I mean, ultimately, we are here to play the games, not just prep for them. That's the thing that when I have to print 20 times and suddenly I run out of painting time, which is another whole hobby of before the game starts.
I need a new airbrush. That's my hobby hole I'm down right now.
How'd that happen?
Well, I mean, I have an airbrush.
It's still working?
Yeah.
You just don't like the current one?
Yeah. It works. But you've been telling me how much you like your pistol grip.
I do like the pistol grip for sure.
And I'm like,
no. I still have like a bargain basement pistol grip. Just so you know, I don't have like the cool, what is it? The really gorgeous, I forget the name. Starts with an I think. Iwata?
Iwata?
Yeah. Iwata, that's the one. They had a really cool pistol grip on that I saw recently.
Ooh. Yeah, I've been looking at like, well, is it time? Is it time I just go ahead and get the Iwata Eclipse or the Patriot or like one of these like the like the ones you see all the pro painters using, and it's like, but I'm always like, would I really get any use out of that, or is my
You know me, I'm
already
like,
decent
I
at brush
am
okay?
get it to the table, so I am like 3-tone prime with my aerosols, dry brush that and slab chop it to table ready. Go. That's me now.
I part of me just like really wants to take like the Christmas break and just like use it to like super level up my painting skills. Like I want to start. Part of me wants to start entering painting competitions and like
What do you think
really pushing myself.
your practice army would be, or would you just kind of be switching it up a bunch?
I wouldn't do I don't want to do not for leveling my skills up. I wouldn't do an army. Army is how you dull your skills.
So you would just do like busts or something? What would you do?
I would just do models, like one-off models, change it up, and like do another model in a different way.
Like
I
just
mean, really good to build up a D&D collection that way.
sure.
But we talk about like 3D printing's a hobby in itself as opposed to miniature painting, which is honestly a different hobby than playing the games.
It
But
is.
I would argue that the most common hobby in our hobby is collecting miniature files.
Shopping, yeah.
Even more than printing them.
Yes, and navigating the dark labyrinth that is, what is the best way to get these things?
And you think it would be easy because I've been watching a few YouTube videos as I'm wont to do about the 3D printing industry because it's kind of my job now. So I have to keep up. And a common video type that will pop up is 3D printing really cheaper than buying Warhammer? And the answer is absolutely yes. And it's just various degrees of how many victory laps the video decides you get to run before it says absolutely yes. But they always do the same mistake at the video, and they end up screaming at the video where they choose the worst possible ways of attaining the printer and resin and files to make it cost as much as possible, and then compare it to the most discounted way you can buy Warhammer.
Sure.
And even then the printer wins because of how stupid cheap it is. And cost isn't, like we've always said, seriously, that cost isn't like the big motivator for me and you on the printing side of things. There's many other wonderful aspects of this hobby that makes us love it so much.
But yeah, there is
cost
the
is
fact.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason why we talk about price points in Warhammer box sets.
Yeah, and and you would think this would actually not be that complicated because. And it's easy to see how somebody who's not familiar with printing would make the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. Where you go like, well, you go to the place that everybody buys the files over at the My Mini factory. You find the files you need for the armies you want to build, and you add those files to your cart. And you pay for them. And you buy your printer, and then you buy your resins, and then you got to factor in all this other extra stuff, and then you print your models. And that ain't how it works. That is a way to do it.
It's a way,
and it is absolutely the worst way to do it.
If you're if you're willing to observe and be part of the community and the hobby, it's the worst way. If you're just going to go and print one army once and never touch it again, then maybe it's okay. But
I would still say it's almost always the worst way to buy it under most circumstances. And if you don't know, then you don't know. You just don't know that it's the bad way to do it. And should it be that, like, ultimately the topic is like, it should be it should be that easy. It should be as easy as just going shopping at the store and buying your stuff and being happy with it. But it's never that. It's so complicated in this industry because, well, first, Kickstarters are like where all this began, and the Kickstarters are always like really good deals with like hundreds of models for a
there's sometimes
price.
Good deals.
Well, yeah, okay. There's sometimes good deals
because a lot of
successful ones are good deals.
Sure. I just find that sometimes people will still go, like, particularly in the game, like the role-playing game side of things, the Kickstarter ask is usually your premium buy. That is, I want this to come to fruition. So you're investing in something because you want to see it get made at all. where I don't think many Kickstarters are running that way. At least the STL ones aren't. And I think for STL values, a lot of them are very successful. But I still have seen boutique Kickstarters, even for STLs, that are way more expensive than they would be otherwise. But it's rare.
Yeah. So a lot of the Kickstarters are good deals. And in the early days, before the My Mini Factory, and honestly before the Resin Revolution, all the filament based stuff was basically done on Kickstarter, with a few standouts like Fat Dragon having their own website,
and also selling through drive-through, which is significant for them.
And then the artists doing the monthly subscriptions started to pop up, because it's like 1 or 2 artists doing these STLs every month, and then we're going to sell them as a monthly bundle. And then My Mini Factory came around as a way to sell the models after you got your monthly stuff up, and it became like the joint marketplace. And then that's when the complicated started to happen, because the monthly price for these models is really good. So we can't sell the models so cheap that it makes the monthly price look bad.
Right.
And this is before. Yeah. This is back when like a monthly price got you like 12 models. Like
still. Yeah, because they're really trying with those later pricing, at least in my experience, even back then, to say, give you a little FOMO of like, or you could have signed up for the whole thing and got this group of 12, right? And and then it only got more complicated. I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. So then, we got the cool, and then so the prices on not Kickstarter, my prices on the individuals were good, but sometimes inflated, and that helped try to shape the price. And then ultimately, like a set of rational prices on the individual models eventually filters through the system as competition happens. But at the same time that's happening, the fight is happening over on the Patreons, and then the split between the boutiques and the water hose miniature creators come around, where the OPRs, the Titan Forges, the Arc Villains, the epics of like how many hundreds of miniatures can we fit in this month's release becomes a question that's being asked. Then so the value of the individual, so even though $10 is not much to ask for a collection of miniatures, it's being compared to, well,
right,
technically we're paying like 2 cents for that miniature. And so the Patreon would give a discount to buying the models, which only kind of makes sense to have a discount for your stuff, but those discounts would keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point that it's literally silly. Like, let's do Arc Villain Games, not Arc Villain, Artisan Guild,
okay.
Artisan Guild, because they've got really good prices. Like, I will not begrudge Artisan Guild their prices.
I won't begrudge them on anything but that monthly pack later, but we'll get to it, right?
The monthly pack for an Artisan Guild model pack is $30. $30 if you miss the month. And
months. Some of them are a little higher than that.
Okay. Well, maybe. Okay. For a while they were $30.
Yeah.
I want to do accurate, so
okay, sure. Since we're naming names, pull them up.
Yeah, and I'm pulling them up because I actually like their prices are really nice and reasonable.
No, they're still very reasonable. Considering if you were to buy one of these things individually, it'd be $5 or $6, and you're getting modularity, you're getting customization.
$40 now.
Okay, that's what I thought.
There you go. That's $40. That's still not bad for a month.
It's not terrible considering the kit.
And then you get 50% off for joining their Patreon. Now, Artisan Guild does this weird thing where it's like only a 1 week out of the month or 2 weeks out of the month that 50% code is active. But
here's where every month stuff that kills me. But we'll keep going.
So we are starting to throw these weird phrases at you. So 50%, and then so boom. So now that $40 pack is effectively $20. Because if you're a patron for Artisan Guild. So at no point in time ever is the smart play to go to My Mini Factory and hand them $40. The smart play, even from nothing, is to join their tribes or their Patreon.
True.
give that $10. Get the pack. When you give them the $10, you get whatever monthly pack it is right now on top of it. You get a welcome pack, which is usually stupid good collection of awesome models. So you've already been drowning in models, but they aren't the models you wanted. You wanted this.
You're just doing it for the 50%.
Like, I want these cool freaking bugbears. These are cool. Riding owlbears. Bugbears riding owlbears. I want bugbears riding owlbears. I'm going to give them $40 for it. But that's never the right answer. The right answer is to pay them $10 to join their Patreon even if you're not a patron, and then spend $20 on the pack, and you spent $30 total. And $40 is always the bad answer. And this is one of the least complicated situations that can come up.
It's true, but there's more.
And another thing that's become popular lately, if you've noticed, especially during the Black Friday sales, because sales are happening constantly.
Yeah.
Like, companies are always having sales. So, and you just need to wait a little bit and another sale is going to happen for whatever company you want. Art Villain Games, a sale's happening like every other month where their stuff is like half off for everybody. And then what's started happening a lot lately is companies will be like, well, it's half off for the plebs that aren't our patrons.
Right. I was about to say,
our patrons is 70% off.
Yes, I was going to mention their flash sales, but it's interesting because, again, you get these very narrow, specific windows where, like, usually Arc Villain's like 2 or 3 days. It's like the weekend. And you have this really super deep, patron discount. But then you got to time that window up with the thing you want, with, whatever your paycheck situation is, with like lining it all up. And it can be really frustrating.
It can be very frustrating to line all these things up. And with Black Fridays, it's just getting even more crazy. It's getting more silly. Next up is like the Black Friday situation itself, where it's all these sales, new stuff being added, billions of companies like just competing for who can do the most ridiculous one. Which Song Miniatures recently did a promotion for their entire catalog at 90% off? And so
what, like 10 cents a piece?
This race to the bottom of like that, the whole industry has been accused of being like a race to the bottom on the charges so that like nobody makes any money. And I don't think it's that at all. There definitely is sort of like an arms race going on with these sales. But I believe these companies are making a lot of money actually from them.
I only have my own experience to compare this to. And Drive-Thru RPG, I sell PDFs on it, and it's very comparable it's a multi, vendor market. It's got the same sort of through discount stuff. And to me, as a publisher, as soon as my costs to create a product are paid, any sales is good sales.
Right. Yeah. So and that's common. You'll see like when a product launches, there's a big spike in how much money it makes over if you chart it out on the thing. Big spike. And then the long tail.
Right.
And once you're at the long tail part of things, anything to get more sales is more than the nothing you're making.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm selling 12 owlbears a day at $1, it's better than 1 at 10. If my costs of creating the STL are done, that's just math, right?
Right. Yeah, and almost all these costs are based off of the Patreon. The Patreon is what actually keeps these companies going and keeps everybody employed and fed. And this is the cherry on top. This is the extra money.
May I add another wrinkle to our discussion? Okay, so let's say you're doing this. You've sussed it all out. You know that Black Friday's coming up. You're going to go grab the thing that you really want, but it looks kind of familiar. So one of the things I've noticed both on Patreon and on My Mini Factory, but especially on My Mini Factory, if you got a Patreon bundle comped to you on My Mini Factory, you got the bundle group. The individual mini might not show up as purchased.
Oh, this is true. And the reverse is also true for other companies.
Yes.
Like, I can speak from experience over here on OPR side of things, where we give you the individual models as like we package when you get all the different individual models.
Yeah.
But you don't get a bundle.
Right. And I think early on with OPR, I did a there was like a 75% off. I think I got one of the Hive armies, and then turned out part of the Hive army was in a welcome pack I'd got from a previous iteration of Alchemy. Well, this is way before you were doing that. But so I'd bought 50 miniatures twice. And a similar thing happens sometimes if you don't even, if you had the bundle, you might not see the owlbear you want, and then you go buy it again and then found out, oh, I already had this. Like nothing quite makes me feel quite as stupid as when I download an individual file, and it showed nowhere on my mini factory that I had it twice, but I download the individual file that I just bought the second time, and it's got the little 1 because it's a duplicate file.
Oh no!
And that's happened more than once, unfortunately. Yeah. But not a ton. But still, it's very easy to do that, especially if you're new and kind of coming into it and you're super manic about
if that happens. Especially if it happens for something significant, like a significant purchase, right? My mini factory. If it's a double up purchase, you can usually get a refund real easy.
I haven't had that experience.
Really?
No, I never got a response actually. So, but this brings me back to a whole nother animal. Whole nother animal, which is the finger pointing game. Because if a mistake gets made, is it your fault? Is it the company's fault? Is it the website vendor's fault? And even worse on Patreon, where because the Patreon, they might be like, well, you paid for a month of support, you didn't pay for our benefit, we just gave you that benefit. And they could kind of point that way, which is super shady, but technically true. And then
I have never experienced it. That would be the last month I ever supported a
well
creator.
My big story about a certain someone that starts with a B that suddenly changed halfway through my second annual enrollment. Not even halfway through, sorry. Halfway through my relationship with them. Like I actually had only kicked it over a month or two before. And by the time they finally responded to my complaining, it was 4 months later. They still told me to talk to Patreon. Patreon still only refunded part of what was remaining. So basically, I ended up getting a refund for about 5 or 6 months of something that I hadn't had more than 2 months of value from. And the company then proceeded to do much other badness, as we have discussed in other episodes. Go look for Kickstarter shenanigans episodes, and you can get all that information. I don't feel like renaming the dead. But yeah, and so chasing down who can fix the problem. I also have had a situation. Here's a fun one for my mini factory, because if I'm gonna fire shots, I'm gonna fire some shots. My mini factory. If you are an early adopter, you get the super cool first patron. Rah, I'm here. I get $5 instead of $7 or whatever it is. And later they change their mind and change that tier away. It disappears. So if you go back to look for your joined membership, it's not there. And you can join again. Yep. You can be double subscribed to people on my mini factory. I have done it twice.
What?
And, yep. And the companies just say sorry. Really super sorry. And I've never had my mini factory fix either of those either. So
wow, okay, that's a different experience than I've dealt with. Wow.
And one of them was significant difference in price point.
I will say, this is not a defense of bad customer service. But oh my gosh, how many things are we signed up for that we can't keep track of how many models we got?
Right, exactly. But it is unfair on one level if you sign up for, I keep almost saying names. You sign up for something on release, like this is their very first ever. You're one of their first 10 people. And then when they change their model and your tier goes away, I get it. Like, with OPR changed away from annuals, and that kind of hit me in a weird spot where I ended up not being able to sign back up for my annual on Patreon. But your policy had changed, right? So that's fine. Where in this other situation I'm thinking of, though, I had signed it, I was still an active member, but because the tier was hidden, it didn't show when I went to look to see, because I drop, you know me, I drop and add people so many times a year, right? And it got to the point where for a while I was just dropping everybody and then re-adding them, just so that I made sure I wasn't doubling up. But because like I was saying, unless I went through and double checked, because there was a time when I had like 3 or 4 pages of subs, and if I didn't miss, there was a time.
Okay.
Anyway, when I would miss that, something that was on page 2 as an early adopter thing was also on page 3 at the normal rate, right? Again, this did not, I'm making this sound like it happened all the time. It happened more than once, but it didn't happen all the time. But they didn't certainly fix it.
We got some hellos. Alex is in chat. James is in chat. Alrix is in chat. Titan Troll is in chat. And Six Guns and Sorcery is in chat. He's warned me that there are serious firmware problems with the Neptune 4 Pro. I will have to be very, very careful with that. Alric said at one point you had more than 40 active subscriptions. Oh boy.
Oh, sweet summer child.
That is more than I've ever had at once, and probably half as many as Kristen is currently juggling.
No, I'm not. I'm really good right now.
How far? Really how many? What's your number?
Do I have to count annuals?
Yes.
I don't know. 30.
Oh, I'm very misbehaved right now, because I just realized that I have 4 active tribes.
4
that I had forgotten about.
4
that I'd forgotten about. I have lots of Patreons as well, but I forgot about these 4 tribes.
So because we're talking about this, the heads on this ever complicating beast, then Patreon does us another favor.
Oh, one of them's Titan Troll. I forgot I was sub to you, Titan Troll. I'm so sorry.
Changes so that creators can decide
unsubbing. Don't worry
if they're going to bill you on the month or if they're going to bill you on the day you signed up now.
Oh yeah, I saw that, and I was like, why would we ever want to change that?
Now I get little dings of Patreon throughout the entire month, and their file transfers are not consistent, because then they can still give you files at the end of the month. They can still give you files at the beginning and just assume you're going to pay them, which one of my patrons does. And then there are the people that do it the day you do it, and they're all different. And this is the thing that just drives me crazy.
It would drive me nuts. I can't keep track. I wouldn't be able to keep track of the subs that way.
Right. Because, if I we've talked about a couple people who we've got a little cagey about, want to go download the files right to our own personal archive as soon as possible. And then, you go do that. And then it's like, oh, wait, this isn't on my Minifactory yet. So then you go back and you find the Patreon like monthly beginning release, and you download from there. But then like 2 days later, we posted it to my Minifactory and we corrected the file on this support. So suddenly you're like having to like jump back. Yeah, Alric, I understand that it's set up by the creator, but it used to just be beginning of the month files at the end of the month was how most many Patreons were working. Pay for the month, get files for that month at the beginning of the next month, basically. And that was a very consistent thing. If you wanted to, and I'm talking on my Minifactory, a lot of them would still make them earlier available as a direct download whenever they have them done. And that again is also inconsistent, because I know people that the first day of the month, new release is out, here it is, you can go download it. And I know people like, hey, this is the month's theme on day 1, but on day 15 is when the files get released. And then, they roll into your My Minifactory sometime during the middle of the month after that,
Yeah, that's really inconsistent, and it really bugs me, because, like, for me, it's like I like it when there's a nice consistent date. And you glorious people that day 1 of the month you give me my files instantaneously. Thank you so much.
Especially if they make it over on My Minifactory.
Oh yeah. Okay, I hate to say it, like, unless you have very special exception. If you're not on My Minifactory, I'm not interested.
Well, and here's another fun one. You know me, I like to save money, and sometimes the big % save is what? Buy the annual. So buy the annual, get the 16 extra % off. And on day one of purchase, yes, we put our files on My Mini Factory. We do this, we do that. Next month, we've stopped putting our files on My Mini Factory at release because they're having to be fixed too many times. It's really an awkward system to work with. So you'll get your files on My Mini Factory eventually, no stated time, sometimes taking 3 or 4 months later, by the way. And then you can download them from X place. And then I even had one that said, oh, we're just going to not use My Mini Factory again, even though I already paid for the annual. And then 2 months later, there was so much backlash, they then got it all fixed out. But this is what I'm saying, this other like layer of Patreon complexity is rough.
I would like, there's only 3 exceptions that I have currently in my current collection of file delivery on My Mini Factory. And I hate to be like that.
I think you're preempting my next complexity, but go.
And I
do it.
And I want to preempt that it is genuinely a dangerous thing for any industry to have one monolithic monopoly that is so central to it.
Agree.
So I would like to see a nice, wonderful, well-featured alternative to My Mini Factory appear in the market. There's a few attempts. I don't think anybody has reached that point yet.
I agree. And My Mini Factory just barely got some of the features from other places that I was wanting it to have.
And there's a lot of features they don't have. Like, gosh, I could go on for days on the features I wish My Mini Factory had. Like,
but they have actively been improving.
Card.
Yes. I actually asked for that. When was that? 2-3 years ago? It was a very first or second episode of our show.
I've asked the CEO that. But before I came to OPR, directly to them. There's still no proper
files
bundles
either, can you? Yeah.
There's still no proper bundles, which means that Steam handles this gloriously. Where if there's a bundle on Steam, but you already own part of the bundle, it just discounts the bundle accordingly. And oh my gosh, is it a lifesaver that way? Because you know exactly what you have, even if it appears in multiple forms. Because the bundle is literally do you have the bundle? Do you have the models? Would just disappear overnight because everybody would just upload the models, and then the bundle would be it's these models.
It's like DriveThru, because DriveThru does the same thing, and I adore it.
And from the other end, I can't say too much from the other end, but it would also make life a lot easier in the other direction too. And it would.
I'm sure there'd be some quality of life improvements back there, because for me, when I do DriveThru, for instance, and I think this is what you just said, if you have 2 PDFs in a 5-file bundle, you get the discount for the proportionate.
Exactly. DriveThru does great. I work with on One Bookshelf a lot, and their bundling system is great because they actually have a bundling system.
Right.
Whereas right now in My Mini Factory, every bundle's a product, and so they're done products. They don't know what else you have, which is I kind of wish they would fix that. I can't gift you models. I can't.
Yeah, that's weird to me.
I can't give you a gift card. Like a lot of my friends coming up this Christmas season, especially, are buying printers, and they're asking me, what should I get? And I want to give them bundles. I want to give them model files that would make their life easier. And I can't do that.
Well, and I will never do this, and I don't condone it, but they are encouraging piracy by not allowing that.
Nicholas Henley says, I noticed Photos Mini is moving to Thangs. That's a weird choice. Thangs is a fun website though. Definitely recommend checking it out, but I don't know about an alternative to My Mini Factory or not, but
but I know a lot more people are using it. Arik, I'm totally agreeing with you. We are talking about how complicated as a whole it is to purchase and manage your collections and all that stuff. But I do think My Mini Factory has been the most consistent improvement. So I'm still using it, even with the issues I've had, right?
And let's go down the rabbit hole of, let's say there's a different use case scenario. Let's say you're decided I want to do this project, but I haven't picked out specific models yet. Let's say that I want to have cool owlbears. And there's lots of cool owlbears. You can search My Mini Factory. You can find tons of cool owlbears.
You can.
But you know what's a better way to get a lot of cool owlbears than even that, or might be better for you?
What's
Is to
that?
then search the hundreds of creators to see if their current month or the next month is going to be cool owlbears. And if they're not exactly what you want, that's one thing. But like, or like say I'm printing a goblin army, you can go see who's doing goblins this month. And odds are I'll find somebody that's doing cool freaking goblins and 100 of them for $10. So now you have to decide, am I going to do this Patreon for 1 month just to get these cool models? Do I need to then go back and get their stuff at 50% discount? Do I need to wait for a specific window for that 50% discount? Is there a cool sale? Is Asgard Rising going to repackage their goblin bundle and release it as
is it going to be on their next Kickstarter for $10?
Yeah. Oh, I'll make sure you go and check out Frontiers, because some of those Frontiers that aren't Frontiers are not Kickstarters. They actually because they have very different rules, and sometimes they're just up forever.
Yeah, sometimes they are in fact undead. They just sit there. I have bought stuff like a year after it ended.
We got Titan Troll asking me to wash my mouth out for hundreds for $10. I am so sorry, Titan Troll. I mean, I also think it's kind of ridiculous that all these models are available at stupidly cheap prices. That, but at the same time, I am unfortunately guilty of perpetuating it.
And I would say I've noticed a trend also, and this is not just OPR, so I'm not just talking your stuff, that a lot of those companies are starting to go back for their bottom 30 of the release and just update old models, which I think is fair. There's a good quantity, and if you're going to up that, but it is something I wish was a little clearer when I'm signing up for something, that I'm like, oh, I'm getting 30 models again this month, but they're just the gecko guys with a better looking crest on their head or whatever it is. And, I do wish that was clear, but sometimes you have to pay attention to your updates or your tribes or your Patreons, or you're going to miss that. Like, oh, that's it. Yeah.
And
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Titan Troll. Titan Troll says quantity for now, quality next. It's sorry, I read that backwards in my head.
Oh, quality for now, quantity next.
Quality for that's what I thought you were saying.
That's a better way to go.
The boutique perspective is what I was trying to think you were saying, and maybe you were also being sarcastic. I need more caffeine.
Anyway. Yeah. I do prefer honestly, I do prefer quality over quantity. I pick my models based on what I like the models more than how many I'm getting. And will absolutely buy a $10 a month Patreon. Well, my metric. Are there two? If there are two, I buy.
Well, I usually look at their individual pricing on their minis. Okay, this sells their singles, for 15 for their larges and 5 for their whatever. And if there are two of those things that are going to add up to what the whole thing is, I'll buy it for sure. Yeah. But sometimes it's even stuff like this. Like, this is a spiritual weapon axe that Comet Lord had. And as soon as I saw this, I bought the release because I knew I needed it. In fact, I have a whole bowl of them. These are for someone's specific character. Only 2, Alex. Only 2 drinks from me.
And since Titan Troll's in chat, I want to give them a shout out because they have a very creepy Strahd set. And the actual shout out I want to say is like, that's some of the coolest ghouls I've seen. And so that's one of the reasons I want to call this out. They're set this month, which you can go get on Tribes, has some really cool ghouls. And there are surprisingly there's not as many cool ghoul sculpts out in the world. And also they have, I assume they're Slaads. I'm not sure which.
They kind of like Slaads. That's the first thing you said. Curse of Strahd, and I was thinking Curse of Slaad, maybe.
Curse of Slaad. I want the frog version of this. It's gonna be like Count Duckula.
So much more interested in Curse of Slaad.
Oh, that's not this month. Oopsie.
Sorry.
Well, they has cool ghouls. You can go buy cool ghouls.
You can still go get them, and probably part of the Black Friday sale? Are they? I'm curious. Maybe that's why you thought
it was the thumbnail on the early bird button.
Okay, something I will say also, and I don't know if this is a My Mini Factory problem or a creator problem, but whoever it is, y'all need to start updating your tribe images, because I can tell you how many times I've been like, oh, cool, look, there's a Mind Flayer, a Beholder, or a Tentacle Monster. and I jump in and I sign up for the tribe and I realize, oh, that's last month's image and it's still up on their preview page. And it's actually this little tiny box on the bottom left that has like orcs in it. And I'm like, you know how I feel about orcs and goblins. If they're really cool, buy them. And some of you have made some very cool ones.
This is the current release. It's creepy townspeople.
And is it more Barovian, more Curse of Strahd?
I do love more people need to do what Titan Troll is doing, and including the busts. First, for those of you who do not know, Titan Troll does the best faces. The best faces in any mini sculpting is coming from Titan Forge or Titan Troll. Sorry, Titan Troll does the best faces, and they include busts with their releases, and the busts are glorious.
So I'm not bagging on you, Titan Troll, by the way. He says it's hard to keep on top of these things.
No, it is hard. It is very hard.
I'm sure it is, but then to me that says interface problem. So that, because it should be super easy. Like y'all should have like a folder that you just click for the month, and then like as soon as that month it just automatically populates out. It should be automated, right? If you're having to go in there on the page and change those things manually yourself, oh boy. That hurts my heart.
It is rough. It is rough. But I mean, like everything is rough. Like if you're in game publishing at all, like good Lord, y'all's 2D lives are also rough with the books and the. Let's face it, Drive Through RPG is a site from 1997 that is still going for some reason.
Though it works. It
absolutely works, and it looks like I'm on North Korea's internet.
I don't know. When they were previewing their last update, I was horrified. So I would rather have it stay and work than get prettier and break. But
yeah. Oof. And honestly, I do remember in college over 20 years ago buying files from that website and printing them on the library printer.
Yeah. I think the first thing I bought, because I want to say that was one of Wizards' earlier distribution.
It was. You could get all the second edition stuff on there before.
So I don't know if you remember this, but I had bought probably 2 or 3 dozen of the rare products that either I had damaged or had lost or had never been able to track down physically. And then they killed it.
Yeah. Then they disappeared.
And that did bad things.
Yes, it did.
And that almost warned me off of PDFs forever. But fortunately, Drive-Thru got better, even if their partner took a second to get that sorted out and moved on to other crises and dramas. Sorry. But that was rough because I want to say almost all the old OD&D stuff, because then they brought Mystara into second edition as a setting. I don't know if you remember that. And suddenly I wanted to go back and get like Etruscan clans and all the old, like really like hard to track down gazetteers. And those were all there. And then suddenly after I bought, hundreds of dollars of them,
they weren't there.
They were gone. Yeah. And that was.
Did you get them back when they were put back?
I did not. I still don't know. Well, again, chances are it was with a different email address that I don't even have anymore. So that might be my fault, but it still was a really bad taste in my mouth.
So we've talked about how complicated it is. And we've even talked about I think in reiterate how we got here. We got here because this is an accidental.
There's one thing we didn't mention. There's one thing we didn't mention.
Sure. What is it?
And I don't blame people for getting their own sites, but there are people who just do their own sites.
Own website. I was about to mention before I got interrupted the first time. I was about to mention the 3 websites that my 3 current patrons that I forgive that don't have my mini factory presence. That's 1 gold piece, because for $1, I understand why they don't want to jump through the hoops.
Yeah.
Okay. It's fine. Absolutely fine.
Yep.
1 gold piece. You've treated me great for years. I'll download your files manually. It's only $1. Okay. Then there is Last Sword, because their stuff is awesome and their website is functional.
Ish.
It's better than Drive-Thru.
I'm still not letting it go. Anyway, go on.
And then finally is Heroes Infinite, because same reasons. Their models are awesome. Yeah. They bribed me over there with extra sculpts. I'm not happy about it. I would rather.
But they got me too. Same thing.
But
and actually, the Overlord tier getting a whole troop instead of just one mini is kind of amazing too.
Yeah,
and I'm on that for sure. I also have Mantic.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Mantic.
And you know why you forgot about Mantic? And this is my only since we're airing our grievances. It's the Festivus episode.
Because Mantic doesn't tell you when they get new
models. They don't communicate.
They don't email you.
I just get a billing statement. I'm like, oh, I'm still subbed to them. And then I go look at it. I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. Okay. And like it's not, I have no idea what's coming. Meanwhile, Heroes Infinite, fanfare rolls in, glorious YouTube. Like,
I don't even know how many emails I get from Titan Forge a month. It's got to be in the hundreds at this point. Between Titan Forge and Cyber Forge, every other day it's an email about the cool stuff that's happening on their website. And Arc Villain Games, oh my gosh, Arc Villain Games. And Loot Studios, good Lord, I'm not even part of Loot, but I get 1,000 emails from Loot.
You sign up for somebody and then listen to them when they say, hey, we're trying to push our Patreon or trying to push our tribe. And so you listen to them and you go sign up for the other one. And now you've signed up for both. And the deluge of marketing that you will be buried under will fill you with regret.
It's almost worth having a separate email address just for your subscriptions.
Right.
But your Patreon email address must match your Beyond Mini Factory email address.
Yeah, this is true.
Alex says,
you were going to.
I'll tell you, I made uploading STLs into a full-time job, but I don't know about downloading. It's like any other like hobby where there's all these like intricate, really cool ways to, not even cool ways. There's like all this in the know stuff that lets you get much better deals than if you're not in the know. But it's so fundamental to the actual value. Not actual value. Actual value is wrong, because honestly, all these models are stupidly underpriced. Like everybody's stupidly underpriced. The amount of artistry that goes into even one awesome model, we are all paying way too little for.
I would agree that it's the same thing for most digital RPG releases.
Yes.
And at least my Mini Factory doesn't, you don't have a licensing agreement where you have to like submit a copy to them, even though they're not going to promote it and it's not even on the front of their webpage anymore. And it's just buried, but you have to submit it there the same day you spend everywhere else. I'm not talking about anything specific. You were headed to something positive about all this, though. Yeah. We have our complicated needs. What was your maybe a solve? What were you headed?
No. How would we like it to be? Like, what should this industry look like? Like we've got this complicated mess that exists because of how it was created and how like different it was created in two different waves, because there's the wave for the FDM printers and then there was the wave for the resin printers, and it was artisanal creators doing things that through Patreon, and they came up with this monthly release model that has then become such a successful model that it has become the industry. And because of the convoluted mess, that's why it's so complicated to just buy your files these days. What should this look like? How, like 20 years from now, when it's all the dust is settled and who cares what happened when the industry was getting created, or somebody nukes my Mini Factory from orbit and we decide to do a whole thing from scratch, like what should this look like? What should this experience be like? Do we have monthly subscriptions with hundreds of models?
I don't necessarily mind that idea, because I think most of our cultures, everything, our entertainment, everything is going to a loyalty-based sub sort of thing. So to me, I think, okay, maybe we get Patreon prices for a release no matter when, as long as you've been signed up for a certain period of time, or you have a contract. Because like I would love to print some old stuff from some of these places, but to go back even and just having to wait. And here's my situation. Oh, I know, because there's going to be a flash sale. They're going to be 75% off. So I will not buy the thing. And then I will wait and I will miss the thing at the 75% off price point. And then I'll be mad about it. So I'll push that thing out of my to-do list. And then it's like this vicious cycle where I see it again a couple years later. I'm like, dang, well, that is almost Black Friday or it's almost the flash sale. So I'll just wait again. And it's like waiting for the same the horse you want on the merry-go-round, and it never quite stops for you.
I'm going to disagree. I think the industry might be better off if we nuked all the super discounts and all the super deals, and we just go to a la carte options again, where you see the model you want, you buy the model. Because right now, what we're doing is we're developing these gigantic digital hordes that we're not printing. Like what you're actually printing and what you're if you only paid for the model at the moment you hit print on the printer, how much money would you have saved?
Right. Mm-hmm. Although I don't know, like I feel like there is something to the loyalty aspect, right? That people, I think that's keeping artists alive right now. And I think what you're describing with the general marketplace, where it's just all kind of like even Steven, those boutique creators are going to die. Mm-hmm. Like fiscally, I'm not actually going to die. I mean, yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I just worry that like a too even playing field would probably be a problem.
Titan Trolls like, do I want print on demand, sir? I don't quite want to go that far, but if I was buying them individually, I would probably only buy models. I would buy a lot less models. I would pay more for them. And I would only buy models that were more, the models I buy would be more likely to actually hit the print bed. Whereas right now I'm getting months and months and months worth of models that don't get printed because I'm getting like let's even say let's say we go back to Sanity again, and each package only had like 12, 15 models in it. Mm-hmm. Okay, we go back to 2020, mm-hmm. and the water hose hasn't been opened. Even then, we were subscribed to at least 10, most likely more. You're still talking 100 models plus. Did you print 100 models?
The first couple months? Yes. But I will say that I often printed 5 of 20 models. Mm-hmm. And I still probably do. I mean, there are other models out there, not models. I'm saying models a lot. There are other service patterns out there. Like, I don't know. Are you familiar with Schlossbauer?
No.
So Schlossbauer is somebody I've been sub to forever on Patreon. And you get their whole catalog. You sign up today, you get their whole catalog. You get everything. And they have a My Mini Factory or whatever, but the support is $1 and you get thousands of models. And they're usually inspired by video games. So it's one of the reasons I think it's done like it is, because it's not making enough money that like if Konami or whoever got mad that you're selling something suspiciously similar to their video game character, maybe, I don't know, maybe that's why I don't, but it's an amazing Patreon, huge value. And I even at a higher value, I'd probably still sub to them. And I think there's something, there's another one too. I can't remember the name of it, but where you get kind of access to the locker while you're subbed.
Oh, Ilhadil's like that. Like, I love Ilhadil. One of my early creators that I backed real hard. Like you pledge in, you just get access to the entire everything they've ever made.
Yeah, yeah. I was reading Alric. Print groups or skirmish games, some module releases only print a body 4 or 5. May print a body 4 or 5 times each. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Gosh, when I'm building Kings of War armies, I'll like Tyrant Troll's question is, how many times are you printing a figure though? Unless you're making teams or selling, you're only printing one, unless you suck at printing painting. I do a whole lot of army based games, and so like mm-hmm. Sometimes I need literally 40. And yes, I want some variety. So there's usually 4 or 5 different poses, but I'll still reprint those poses 5 or 6 times each mm-hmm. to get to the numbers I need. And that is like army scale wargaming. that's a very particular audience that will be reprinting the same pose. But for my heroes, they get printed once or twice and painted. I do like I have absolutely reprinted a model once I've gotten better at painting to paint it again. To paint a better version of that exact same model before. So that has happened, but that's a rarity. I could just
James is mentioning iTunes Spotify model there.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I don't mean
so there is like the off. STL flicks.
Right. Well, I was even wondering, My Mini Factory has just like a tier where you just get a bunch of random stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Titan Troll, I'm just talking language for wargaming. For RPGs, it's completely different. Like RPG players are probably only going to print a model once. You're right. And that's it.
Yes, Elric, when you drop them or pack them poorly, like I've been doing lately, I have broke so many things just with storage mistakes lately. So much.
Which is
we're running out of time.
We are really running out of time. I kind of wish it wasn't this complicated though.
Me too. Please let us know your thoughts, what your solution would be in comments or whatever. Do you have any shout outs? Because I have a couple.
I do not have any shout outs.
All right. Well, first shout out. Actually, these are both kind of basic. Let's do the epic bases from Unchained Games here. These people did the ones I saw first from them was campaign coins. And they have some amazing fantasy. If you want to just print up a bunch of resin coins, they have some really cool stuff back on My Mini Factory. But this is a base thing, and everybody knows I like this. One of the things that's interesting about this setup, though, is these are actually cosmetics that clip onto like a standard base that they offer elsewhere. And then the base that they offer elsewhere is where you customize it for magnets or whatever. But these are just little like decorative tops that go on top. Obviously, you could there's a picture of it right there. But it just kind of snaps onto that thing, and then you can have the various base options you need. But then, of course, you can just glue them or merge them onto another base file that you're using anyway. So, but they're very thin cosmetics, which I think is a very interesting thing, and particularly for people who like to mod or like do their own diorama setups or whatever, because a lot of these are really like, and intensely like lots of objects and all sorts of stuff you can play with. And there's some kit pieces that you can tweak with them. And there's a lot of stretch goals that are already unlocked on it, coming up here. So I think it's worth checking out. It's pretty affordable. They also have add-ons for their game piece boxes, which we talked about a couple weeks ago. I don't know if we talked about theirs specifically, but they have some pretty cool game piece boxes as well, and dice towers. But yeah, I just wanted to let you know that was going on. And then the second one is Where Legends Fall. I've called these guys out several times for doing really cool base again. This is oddly, the first one was accessories to bases. This is bases to minis. So this is definitely an Undead Army Kickstarter, but you still have access to all their bases. And I've actually used their bases. They have the little screamy face bases, I think there. Is that one of them?
Yeah, with like the little screaming faces.
I've actually used those. They're really fun. Really fun. And they have really good options of like square, round, different form factors, hollow, magnetized, and it's all done for you already, like depending on your size of magnets and everything. So they do a really good comprehensive setup of all the different options for their basing stuff. And then the cosmetic stuff here for like if you're doing like a graveyard board or just a ghoul army, there's going to be all sorts of stuff to add on to your undead goodness. I would just check those out if either of those sound appealing, even though they're both a little basic. Okay, I made the joke twice.
Good base packs are underappreciated. I absolutely like them. I'm glad so many creators are including them now in their regular releases. It's always nice.
That's what keeps me on Cobra mode, and everything else is just gravy.
Cobra mode's so good, though. So many fun characters. You all need to check out Cobra mode if you haven't. Absolutely.
I need to do a moth army. Their moth minis are so fun. They're moth people.
All right. And if you want to find any more of our show, you can do so over at printyourgames.com. We're on all the socials. If you want to help us out, the best thing you can do is leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify, or if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Jefferson J. Thacker, also known as Param.
I'm Kristen Sowards, also known as Seth